Thank you, Taylor, for that personal story of your wife. That's extremely relevant and timely. You'll notice here that there are lots and lots and lots of questions that we have about resurrection. Chapter 40 is filled with uncertainty regarding certain aspects of the resurrection. And Alma tells his son Corianton over and over, watch for it in chapter 40, things where he'll say, I don't know. I give it as my opinion. This hasn't been revealed yet. There are lots of questions in Alma's mind, and some of those have been resolved through Joseph Smith and Restoration Scripture in the Doctrine and Covenants. But you'll notice what Alma does. He shows a pattern. When you have questions about things, you go back to what you absolutely know. And he's doing this over and over again with regards to his questions, his concerns about the resurrection. So go over to verse 10. And when the time cometh when all shall rise, then shall they know that God knoweth all the times which are appointed unto man. He's like, even though we don't know all these things, God knows. Look at verse 11. Now concerning the state of the soul between death and the resurrection, behold, it has been made known unto me by an angel that the spirits of all men, that's 100%, as soon as they are departed from this mortal body, yea, the spirits of all men, whether they be good or evil, are taken home to that God who gave them life. This raises a whole bunch of questions for us. All men and women, as soon as they're dead, are taken home to that God who gave them life. Notice the word state, starting in verse 11. You could just in your scriptures mark every time you see the word state, or at least notice the word state and what it implies. It comes up 3 times in verse 12. You're going to see it multiple times in verse 14 and 15, and he's describing these states of being that people enter into. In verse 12, he refers to spirit paradise, a state of happiness, which is called paradise, a state of rest, a state of peace. In other words, tests, mortal struggles, they're not intended to last forever. They're a temporal thing that's going to pass, and then we enter into a different state, a state of rest. But notice he then describes those who have chosen evil. Look at verse 14. Now this is the state of the souls of the wicked, yea, in darkness, in a state of awful, fearful looking for the fiery indignation of the wrath of God upon them. Thus they remain in this state, as well as the righteous in paradise, until the time of their resurrection. So he's talking about this period from when you die until the time that you're resurrected, what's happening? And he's describing these various states of being that people are going to find themselves in. When I was younger, I got in an argument with my sister, and she started running towards the house. I picked up a rock and threw it at her, and I missed her, but I didn't miss the window. A very large, beautiful window in our home, and put a big hole in that window. Mom and Dad weren't home at the time. Well, guess where I went? I went to my room, I crawled under my bed, and I stayed there until I heard the car come home and the garage door go up, and I knew I was in trouble. In a little child's perspective, Alma's teaching the same principle in a really big way. Gratefully, my parents didn't disown me and banish me forever in that context. And there is great hope, great redemption for repairing broken windows and shattered lives as well at a much bigger level. So as you're reading through 40, just pay attention to what he doesn't know and where he says, I give it as my opinion, contrasted with what he does know and what he's absolutely certain of. That we're all going to get this opportunity to be brought into the presence of God and to find redemption and to be restored through a glorious resurrection.